Hey everyone, and welcome. My name is Marcus, and today I'm gonna share. It's a follow up to the video I did last week, which was the benefits of spirituality and the benefits of having a different perspective on this whole thing called the human experience. And so in this video, I'm gonna share how to get those benefits because it's not as easy as just saying, okay, cool, I'm going to take on that perspective and now I'm reaping the benefits of this. There's a bit of work. It's exciting work, but it's kind of work nonetheless. And I've found personally that the more I do this work, the more I enjoy doing this work. And it really has shifted me from being inside the system. A lot of people now are waking up to the fact that they don't want to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. They want to do more things that are more in alignment with them, things that are closer to their unique truths. And so what I'm going to share today is how I've managed to do that, because the past, I'm 35 now. When I was 20, I made the decision to really go for it in terms of music. I have a career in music. I was a touring musician for 15 years. And so really following my passion in that sense was kind of one of the first steps that I took on this journey that I'm still on. It's changing. The specifics are very much changing, but the techniques I'm using, the lifestyle that I'm developing, it's all very much the same, and that is bringing out more of me, bringing out my values, and living life in a way that is true to me. So in this video, I'm going to share the specifics of what I am doing in order to move into that. And as always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. So the first thing that kind of, at least for me, needs to be in place for all of this to work, because sometimes this is not it. And number one is priority. For this to work, my spiritual growth, my spiritual evolution, my personal growth needs to be the priority. If I want to follow my passion, figuring out what my passion is and making the decisions for that to happen needs to be the number one priority. It would be very difficult and it would be very frustrating for me to have a 9 to 5 job and then trying to fit this in on the side. Then all of my actions, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, is going to go against this drive. So making it a priority in making decisions based on that priority is the first thing for me that needs to be in place for any growth really to happen. Of course, we can have things develop, and I'm not saying you need to leave your job in order to grow spiritually or grow personally, but to really live that and to really transform in a major way, there are steps that I've taken to really bring that out. One thing that I've done to kind of like figure out what I want, how I want to do things, is journaling. That is the one technique that I've used throughout my whole life. A little bit less so right now because I'm meditating so much, and I'm kind of feeling that I'm getting that box ticked off in a sense when I'm meditating. Because the purpose of journaling as well as meditating, one of the purposes is to shine light on, bring awareness to what's going on, here and in our bodies, how we're feeling, like why are we maybe not in a flow. So it's kind of like journaling is a way for me to kind of like, really look very deeply and specifically at something. Maybe I feel troubled by something. Maybe I don't know, there's just something on my mind, but I can't figure that out. And so journaling has been the number one tool to really figure out all of those things. And in a broader sense, it has really helped me figure out, well, who am I and what do I want to do? How do I want to show up in the world? What's important to me? And it serves the purpose for that, but it can also just be like a maintenance tool. If I'm having a bad day at work and it's maybe a situation that has surfaced many times, then journaling was the way for me to really okay, well, why is this a recurring thing? Why is this keep showing up? And through journaling, it's like I'm slowing down my thought process, because just walking around and thinking about it hasn't really done me much good, I would say, because our thoughts are very fast. So it's hard for us to kind of make some sort of a red thread with our thoughts. Whereas if we sit and journal, we can take one thing at a time, and then it's like all of this messiness in our brain kind of aligns, and we get a narrative that we can kind of map out. And I found that once I've journaled, I then read through it, it's like clarity. But also whilst I'm writing, there's so much clarity, and I'm organizing my thoughts and I'm putting it down. And it's really nice to have my thoughts being put outside of me. Like, that's kind of the feeling of I get from journaling. It's all messy in my head, and then I write it down, and it's like, cool, I've taken all my thoughts and it's now on my computer. I journal on my computer. You can, of course, do however you want. And yeah, it's just like organizing my thoughts. And there's another technique in terms of journaling, which is called morning pages, from the book called The Artist's Way. I forgot the author. But it's like how to encourage creativity, basically. And one of the arguments is that our thoughts about everything is kind of like a blockage to our creativity. So the morning pages, which she recommends doing in the morning, is to kind of just like write a couple of pages, just anything that comes to mind, kind of just like blah, get it out, get it, because sometimes they're just thoughts that just wants to be heard. And once they've been heard, they're like, cool, now I've been heard, now I can leave. So you just write that out, kind of get it all out of your system, and then you feel a bit like clean. I haven't done that like super consistently, but I've done it every now and then, and it's working for sure. I feel lighter, I feel clearer, and I feel I can listen to intuition and my heart and soul a lot easier, when my mind is clear. And yeah, so if that's something that you're struggling with, too many thoughts, that is just like too much, try journaling. That is my recommendation for you, if this is something that seems interesting to you. So that's journaling. The other one is kind of like dream journaling, writing down my dreams. We all dream. They say even if we don't remember our dreams, we dream every night, several dreams in our REM sleep. And they can have profound messages, I've found. I have a little dictionary, a dream dictionary, and I just like look up whatever. I was dreaming about spiders, and so I'll just look up spider, what that means. I haven't looked it up yet, so I can't remember. But it's very insightful, and I've heard the argument, but like dreams are very unique, and I believe that too. Kind of from Carl Jung's perspective, that the same symbol can mean different things for different people. I do believe that. But looking at my dreams and having a interpretation, reading about an interpretation can then trigger intuition. It's just like, oh, it's similar, but more like this. So it's an awesome way to kind of start looking at your intuition and start practicing that as well. And the more I've done this, dreams are amazing. I'm gonna make a full video about all of these things later. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it there and just saying that if dreams are exciting, writing them down as soon as you wake up can be, profound. And then if you want to start remembering your dreams more, before you go to bed, you read through the dreams you wrote down. That will kind of like spark that part of your brain to become active again. And then you'll see, sometimes quite quickly that, there's increased activity in dreams. Okay, and the other practice, so we mentioned journaling, dream journaling, and the last one is, of course, meditation. I have a little bit of experience from my childhood. I've done martial arts my whole life, judo mainly, and there's a little bit of like mindfulness and meditation aspect of it, a little bit. And so I've kind of been very open to it, but I didn't start doing it until I was 25. And as soon as I started, I was like, everything in me was very ready for that to happen. So I had a very positive entry point into meditation. And I had a very wise mentor that encouraged me to meditate in my way. I think meditation, really is supposed to be very individual to us because we're all very different and we all need very different things. But ultimately, I think meditation is listening. Praying is speaking to the universe. Meditation is listening to the universe. And when we're listening to the universe, that includes our physical body and things around us. So just awareness is how I moved into it. I remember starting, I was just asking myself, I wonder what would happen if I sit down with my eyes closed, quiet for 20 minutes. I wonder what will happen. And I had no preconceived ideas of I'm supposed to quiet my mind, I'm supposed to have my hands in a certain position. I just sat on a chair. I just sat with my eyes closed. And I was just experiencing how that felt. And what would happen is that my monkey mind would shatter a bit. And I would think about the things we all think, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to do groceries, I'm a bit hungry, I'll eat later, blah, blah, blah. But then once I've done that for 5-10 minutes, then that will kind of like simmer down. And other thoughts would come up, deeper thoughts. And I would feel like, oh, this is not my mind. This is like maybe coming from my heart, maybe coming from my guts. I would be aware of my body. Maybe there's a tension in my shoulder. So it would be awareness. And then week after week, it would go deeper and deeper. And eventually I would find that there would be thoughts coming up that I haven't thought in a very long time. Meaning maybe there was something during that day that triggered me, that I was irritated, I was frustrated. And then during meditation, I would start thinking about something, what seemed like a very unrelated thing. But contemplating it, I then understood like, oh, they're connected. And that's why today I was so triggered. And it's like, oh, and then it's like, then I connected to, it's because something similar happened back then. Oh, and that's, like I would connect so many patterns in me, and it kind of like gave me permission to kind of release that irritation that came up during the day. So it was very helpful. And then fast forward a couple of years, it was actually, meditation brought up a lot of stuff from my childhood that needed to be processed. So, and that's not something I'm going to go into in this video, but I'm saying that meditation can have profound, it's super powerful. Just listening, having that as the one thing, and figuring out like, well, how do you want to take, and what are the things that you want to listen? Because we're very much like do, and we have so much information overload with social media and everything. And moving that aside and listening to you, I think for me has been the number one practice that has 100% transformed my life. So that's meditations. We have journaling, dream journaling, and meditation. Those are the three main tools, I would say, that helped me on my awakening journey. And I'll make more videos about that, diving deeper into that for sure. But for now, we're going to move on. Okay, so those are the practices. And then reading and learning new things. That's, we are in a society that doesn't at all encourage. Well, I mean, it's starting to now, but the system now is like, get a job, pay for your bills, you know, get a bigger house, so you need more money, so you need to work more. It's the hamster wheel basically. But I'm seeing more and more people are just saying like no to that, and I would say I've been very rebellious to that. I'm very. There's a couple times I worked in factories for like 6 months because I was about to move to America and I needed money. So I've done that a little bit, and I think it is such a crime, to be honest, for people that have spiritual gifts, they have creativity, they might be musically gifted, but our society is not encouraging them to share that, because the way society is built now is, well, you have to go and work, and then we don't have time for that. And so having new perspectives to balance that also has been very beneficial for me, and I've done that in reading books. And YouTube is amazing because anyone can go on there and share, and there's so many different flavors of this information that if you're interested in any of the alternative stuff, you'll find someone that can speak things that ignite you and bring you excitement. So those are the things that I've done to introduce alternative concepts to this whole societal construct we're in right now. And books reading about meditation, breathwork, reading about Buddhism, reading about ETs, reading about spirit guides, life after death. All of these things have just opened up my perspective that there is more to life than what we currently see. And some of the books even don't have to necessarily believe all of them, but just to have another perspective it's making everything less serious, I think. So read and learn new things. And I also learn, I'm a musician, so I'm trying to learn a little bit of music every day, read books every day. And I've found that once I'm in a learning kind of habit, I get really curious. And I think this world is amazing, and curiosity is such a pure essence of humanity. I think that is one of the most beautiful qualities that we can have. I know for sure that I feel just really connected to who I really am when I'm curious. And I'm finding out things about me when I'm in that state as well. Okay, so we had the practices, we had read and learn. Now, our physical body is super important to our experience here on planet Earth. A lot of us are not taking care of our bodies, and it's affecting. I'm not sure if you've heard people talk about everything is vibration, everything is frequency. And so our bodies hold very specific frequencies as well. And depending on what we eat, what we drink, if we smoke, we are affecting our body, our frequency a lot. And that kind of determines sometimes what kind of emotions we're feeling, what kind of thoughts we're having. And so I made many big shifts, and I couldn't imagine doing this without feeling strong and healthy. So exercise is something that I do a lot. I take that very seriously. I mean, it doesn't have to be serious, it's fun. And but it's making me feel so energized, and I'm feeling it's helping me with my mind, it's helping me with my heart. If I'm having a tough day, exercise can really just shake things up and just okay, cool, I'm sweating all of this stuff out that I don't want to keep, and I'm kind of bringing in another kind of warrior energy that kind of clears things out. And so that's really helpful if I'm stuck in my mind as well. And then, of course, fueling my body with amazing foods, drinking a lot of water. I haven't had a single drop of alcohol in 10 years. I can't imagine doing that and trying to develop my meditation techniques at the same time. It just became very obvious to me that this path I'm on right now is that of awareness and consciousness. And what does alcohol do? It makes us really stupid, right? It's poison to our bodies. We all know this. And I'm not here to judge. I used to drink a lot. It's fun, but it just became very obvious to me that if I'm drinking, my kind of awareness goes this way. But I want to go towards awareness, consciousness, and all the things that I mentioned a moment ago. And it took a while, maybe like 6 months after I stopped drinking, for the fog to kind of like just leave. And it was this clarity. And I'm happy to say that this is a clarity that is my baseline now. So that's also something to consider, like what, and again, I'm coming back to like what I said in the beginning of the video. We can't do all of these changes at once. Like if you would go raw vegan, you would stop smoking, stop alcohol, like all of the at the same time you'd start meditating, it would be a shock to your system. So I'm definitely not saying do all of these things at the same time. See one thing. Is there one thing that I'm mentioning here that you feel inspired to explore? Then that might be the start of your path. Yeah. Another thing is rest and recovery. If I don't get my beauty sleep, I'm a mess. Honestly, like I can't remember things. I'm spaced out. I just feel crap, really. And so sleep and health, that is my number one priority, because I know that that is the number one tool that helps me with this path that I'm on. And when I'm really focusing on sleep, I perform better, I can focus better, I can learn more, I can meditate better, I exercise better, I have more compassion to other people. It solves everything I'm trying to do. And I work as a coach and a medium right now, and one of my clients, she had so many things she wanted to achieve, and I could tell she was really passionate and she was on the right track. But then she would share that she only sleeps like 4, 5, 6 hours per night, and she's having nightmares. And I said to her, it's like, there's no wonder like you're struggling. Like I wouldn't be able to function. I sleep at the very least 7 or 8 hours every night, and then sometimes I take a nap as well. If I get 9 hours of sleep, that's my like I'm ready to go. Then I feel awesome, and then that's like, good. I make use of my waking hours. I feel like I'd rather have less hours, more focused, than more hours feeling, like a vegetable, because I'm not gonna do anything productive during those hours, anyways. And so having my sleep hygiene important, like no screens for a couple of hours before I always meditate, in the evening before I'm going to bed, lots of fresh air, etc., etc. So another kind of like thing is to find stillness. Find stillness. Find stillness. Our breath is amazing because it can help us move into stillness. Because this world is very loud. Social media, TV, news, cars, the supermarkets, the train ride to your work, everything is very, very loud. And the thing with intuition and soul and inspiration, that voice is very soft. It whispers, versus our ego is very loud. So finding stillness, of course, meditation is a form of finding stillness. But even during your day, going for a walk without your phone, just sitting down 5 minutes, putting your hands on your body, listening to your breath. Finding that stillness kind of returns us to our intuition and that inner voice. And the more we do that, the stronger it gets. Initially, I would just do that during meditation, but now it's like something I'm returning to again and again, and it's getting stronger and more easy to tap into that every time I'm doing that. I'm going to do a whole video on finding stillness, so I'm going to move on from this now. So why do all of this? Kind of to just bring it full circle. Initially, I was mentioning for that, the spiritual perspective can bring so many benefits that I shared in my last video. And this is kind of the work. I don't know if I even want to call it work, but these are the inspired actions I'm taking in order to move myself closer to the spiritual perspective that we're all one and we are here to bring down heaven on earth. These are the steps I'm taking. And so how does that look like? Once I've taken these steps, the purpose is not for these steps to just be done by themselves. They are leading me to inspired actions. So that's the next step. That is kind of like the result of all of these actions. They're leading to inspired actions. Maybe if I have a dream that was really interesting, that might lead to like, oh, that might push me towards action in an area that's really exciting. During meditation, I might get inspiration and insights that like, oh, I get it now, like, cool, then I'm gonna do this. And whenever we get inspired action, that is like our soul is like coming through and we hear the guidance, the inspiration. That is our soul saying, yes, here is forward. This is the next divine step on our unique path. Whenever we feel excitement, it's our emotion translating a thought. If I'm thinking, I'm gonna start a 9-to-5 job, I'm gonna work at that place for like 40 years. That doesn't seem exciting to me because that's my soul saying, no, we don't agree with that. Versus if I'm saying, every day I'm gonna approach life with the perspective that anything's possible. I am powerful. I have the capacity to move forward in a life that brings me deep satisfaction and enjoyment in a way that also brings value to other people. I could go on, but that seems very exciting to me, and that's my soul saying yes. My soul is agreeing. So the emotions are kind of an indication of, are we thinking the correct thoughts? Not correct in terms of what other people think, but what does our truth say? What does our soul say? So inspired actions making us feel, if we feel excitement about something, that's our soul saying, yes, go that way. Yes, take that step. Yes, go up and speak to that person or whatever it might be. So all of these things that I mentioned in this video are supposed to trigger inspired actions. And the more you listen to that, that's a practice that is a big nuance, and Bashar talks a lot about that. He has a whole formula for all of this. And yeah, it's like it's the one thing to remember ever for the rest of your life. Follow your excitement. That's at least my practice with all of this. I'm coming on here on YouTube now sharing because it seems exciting to share this information for me. And I'm hoping that it's useful and valuable to other people as well. And of course, there are challenges with all of this. Other people might look at you differently. Other people might say like, well, I don't get what you're talking about, whatever. That's just noise. Ask yourself, what is more important, satisfying the opinions of others or satisfying the soul calling within you? And this is something that recently has really started to clear for me. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't be able to sit here and share with you. And so I'm very happy that I've finally made the choice of speaking my truth. And so my question to you as we wrap up this video, what is your truth? What do you want to do? How do you want to live your life? There's this awesome question that I sometimes ask my coaching clients. If money was no object, how would you really want to spend your life? What would you love to do every day, forever? It might change, but what are you feeling called to do right now? So with that, I'm gonna close this video, and please comment, subscribe, and like. Please comment, what is your truth? What would you like to do as something that, what really excites you? What would you like to move towards that you maybe haven't moved towards yet? I appreciate you. I thank you for listening, and much love. Peace.